So if we go to the first source on the bottom of page 10, the Talmud tells us that someone who has no life lives without joy, lives without blessing, and lives without goodness. Okay? So if you had to put this on the list, what would you put on?
Supportive.
Supportive. You know, it's interesting because I saw it more as someone who brings you joy.
Makes you happy.
So I think when we were discussing it, we were talking more of like, as a husband or wife, you grow in terms of selflessness towards another and giving to another every day. Like Ronka said, that daily, minute by minute selflessness. So that like true joy is that self-growth.
And someone that helps you grow.
Yeah, but see, that's why I wouldn't put someone who brings you joy as the character you're looking for. That because then you're already not opening yourself up.
Okay, so someone who helps you grow.
Yeah.
Okay, and clearly these are inside characteristics, right? But let me say it right now, that anytime it says man, I think we can apply it like as a woman who is looking for a spouse, because you have to understand the Talmud was written in a time period where women did not go around looking for spouses, okay? There's actually a portion of the Talmud which is going to horrify some of you, that it's compared to a lost sweater. The woman is a lost sweater. The lost sweater does not go around looking for its owner. The owner goes and looks for its lost sweater. Okay? Okay. Obviously not very 21st century friendly or very feminist, but you have to realize the time period that we're talking about. So I believe that when we look at these sources, we can also look in both directions, and we can say that when we're looking for a woman who brings joy or helps us grow, then we're looking for a man as well who does those things depending on your gender or your sexual orientation. Then if we move on to the story of Rebecca and Isaac, firstly, it's a great story. This I take as like the second classic love story, okay, in the Bible. Here it's very different though. Here there's a lot more options. Now there are a lot more options, but it's kind of limited. Don't take a woman from here. Go further. Not only that, but it's a shidduch, right? Because Abraham's servant is sent to go find a wife for Isaac, and Isaac has no part in the search. Okay? So Abraham's servant, which we generally refer to as Eliezer goes to look for a wife for Isaac, and he says to God, how am I going to know what to look for? Give me a sign. Okay, and what is the sign? What's the sign?
She'll offer to give him water at the well.
And his camels. She'll offer to give him and his camel. Okay? That's kind of a classic problem in Judaism, to ask for a sign. We're not really allowed to walk around and be like, if it's going to rain today, then let the next car that drives by be blue. Okay? That way I'll know to bring an umbrella. Right? And we're not allowed to say, if this is the right car for me, then let the windshield wipers start going crazy back and forth, right? We're not allowed to ask for signs. So how could Eliezer have asked for a sign here? And if we fast forward through the story, right, that he meets the family, he says, I want her to marry Isaac. They ask her permission, okay?
So she's willing.
Okay, and I think that's important. You want to marry someone who wants to marry you, right?
She doesn't know anything about the God, Isaac.
But at least.
But she's not resistant
right.
To getting married. So there is.
And if someone doesn't want to marry you, that's kind of going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. She agrees to go with Isaac. By the way, for those of you who were here yesterday, she's offered nose rings and earrings from the servant. Okay, she goes with the servant to go meet Isaac. Okay, what happens when she goes with the servant? First, Isaac lifts up his eyes and sees her coming from a distance. Then Rebecca lifts her eyes and sees Isaac, and she falls off her camel.
But I feel like that reflects their inner value to a degree.
Okay, so that would go along with modesty, I guess.
Which you also put on outside, which I kind of like. You see it on the outside, but I feel like that reflects more of what's inside.
Something that's inside.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Outside inside.
Outside inside. We're kind of running out of time, okay, so I'm gonna speed talk a little bit. Okay, if we move on to the next source, we see that a man has to see a woman before he decides to marry her, lest she be loathsome to him. Okay, and it goes both ways. They have to see each other because they have to find each other attractive. Okay, we've already put that down, but I'd like to reiterate it. The next source says that, firstly, they pair a man with a woman according to their deeds. Okay, which could be seen in a negative way and can be seen in a positive way. It could mean that if a guy is a horrible person, then he gets a horrible wife, and vice versa. Or it can mean that people with good values marry people with good values. Okay, so I think we could put on like shares your values. The rest of the source tells us that it's predestined who we marry, yet at the same time, who we marry, finding someone to marry is as difficult as splitting the Red Sea. Okay? And the Talmud deals with the contradiction by saying, hey, it's not really a contradiction. One is talking about a first marriage, one is talking about a second marriage. But either way, I think that it's really a combination of the two. That yes, there is kind of this soulmate once you find them. But finding them is still quite difficult. Okay? And finding them is still as difficult as the splitting of the Red Sea. Okay? Then the sources move on to this whole discussion of the 15th day of Av. Okay, the 15th day of Av was a strange day.
What is this, Tuba?
Yeah. And the 15th day of Av, women got dressed up in white, borrowed clothing so that if you didn't have anything to wear, that you wouldn't be embarrassed. They got dressed up in white, and they frolicked in the fields, basically for men to look at them and to choose wives from among them. Okay? And they would say, do not look for beauty, rather on good family. Okay?
So the ones that wear a sign, I come from a good family.
Do not look for beauty, rather good family. Okay? So I will put good family here on the outside. Okay? But I feel like this is the classic case of people, like, you know how like the people who say that beauty is only skin deep is people who are ugly,
Well,
right?
The next source says that.
Right? That still people who are beautiful will still, like in the next source, the people who are beautiful will play up on that. Okay? Like in the next source we see the beautiful say, look for beauty. The ones from good families say, look for good families. The ones who don't have either say, well, you kind of need to get married anyways and pick someone who can raise a family with you. Okay? So, good family, beauty, and the ability to raise a family.
Does that mean like financial?
I think it's more like someone who you could see yourself raising a family with.
Rabbi Yaakov Bieler, artistic talents as divine gifts.
Just read that last line again.
Is it appropriate to suppress?
No, before that. Just as a
prophet is not supposed to suppress his prophecy. If artistic talent is just a different form of prophecy, then is it appropriate to suppress or at least not develop it? Ba-da-bum. There's your thesis.
What do you think?
Well, I don't think anybody should be forced to use a skill that they're not interested in using.
Well, I'm disappointed that you haven't had an experience with an artwork that's really shaken you up. I'm a bit disappointed.
I like this section though.
Why?
If let's say you're athletic, should you feel the need to use that talent to participate in competitive sports? If you want to, sure, why not? I mean, it's amazing to be able to use your artistic talents to go and incorporate your Jewish interests and Tanakh passages. That's amazing that you can do that. But if someone's not passionate about that, then what's the point? If they're not excited about it, how are they going to get other people excited about it? You can't present work that you're not excited about.
I get ignited by the environment when there's like live painting at a gig. There's something about the people, the atmosphere. It's like a really different dynamic. Like here also, I just find it very creative. It's very free flowing for painting and stuff. So there is like an atmosphere. I think it's a combination of pre-given sort of talent and skill, and then what you do with it. You get enormously talented people, but they're lazy. And then you also get people who work their arse off, but didn't initially have that much time, but they just make an incredible, amount out of it. So I think it goes beyond what they're saying. Suppression can also lead to a major artistic, explosion. That could be, part of it. But ultimately, I think art has been suppressed in Jewish narrative, majorly.
It's an interesting notion. Why do you think so?
I think that people don't really know. I think from static learning, where the use of the body, all the way through to just different forms of text, like film, visual forms as different aspects of text, isn't used. And there's so much, that you can have two painters here with canvases painting and talking about a parsha, at the same time, and that as a form of learning and expression at the same time. There could be just so much more different dynamic of different visual art forms around the text to embellish the text, filmic midrash, spiritual seeing, aspects of spirituality, forms of visualization, meditation, all of these things, dream analysis.